Thank you for tuning in to Macroview Television and welcome to a brand new edition of Taiwan Outlook, the program that presents the different faces and lets you hear the different voices on Taiwan. I'm your host, Wu Ruiguo. For every summer since 2005, over 200 Taiwanese overseas youth have come back to Taiwan and participate in the Taiwan Tech Trek Program. And on today's program, we're delighted to have two participants, one from 2014 and one from this year's TTT program, to share with us their experiences working and living in Taiwan. To my immediate left, she is Lena Morris, who is a TTT member from 2014. Welcome to the program, Lena.
Thank you.
All right. And next to Lena is Bannie Pan, who is a current member of the TTT program for 2015.
Hi.
Okay. Nice to have both of you on the program. And, relax. We're having a friendly conversation. All right. First, maybe the two of you can, talk to us a little bit about yourselves. First, like where were you born? Were you born in Taiwan or in the States? Where are you going to school? Or if you, have graduated? Starting with you, Lena.
Okay. I'm from Indiana, America.
Okay.
I was born there. I moved to Taiwan, though, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I stayed here, and I went to elementary school here. Then I went back, and then I went to high school, and then college, which was Indiana University, back in Indiana. And then I came back to Taiwan after I graduated because TTT was the first internship I got after that. So.
Good.
I've been here ever since.
All right, so you've been here for a year.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit later about your experiences in Taiwan.
Okay.
All right? And how about you, Bannie?
I was born here and
in Taiwan.
Born and raised in Taiwan, in Taipei, and I left when I was 8 years old, or right after first grade. But I didn't go straight to America. I was in China for a good 10 years,
Really?
And I finished high school there.
What part of China?
Oh, I lived in 3 different cities. I was in Shenzhen, and then Shanghai, and then Beijing.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was in international school, so that's where I picked up English. But also I felt the need to keep
Study
my Chinese strong.
Okay.
So I took Chinese classes. And now that I'm in college...
where are you going to school?
In North Carolina, NC State, North Carolina State University. And I'm studying in communication with a media concentration. All
right, and you're the participant in the TTT program this year, 2015.
That's right.
All right. Can the two of you tell us a little bit about the Taiwan Tech Trek Program? What is it? This is, of course, a program sponsored by our government's Overseas Communities Affairs Council, OCAC. But can you elaborate on what the program is? Please, Lena.
The program, from what I knew, was kind of like a way to get ABCs and expatriates to come and experience Taiwan and through working experience. Because I think you can travel to a country, but it's different when you actually get to work there and work with the local people. So,
that's correct.
So that program kind of helped us young folks experience that.
All right. Yeah. But you were in Taiwan before, right? Like you mentioned. But this time coming back, back in 2014, did you notice a lot of things are different?
Yes, I've never actually worked in Taiwan before so that's why I wanted to participate in the program. Is because I lived here before as a kid, and I've traveled as a tourist, but I've never actually worked here. Okay. So yeah, it was very different, and also Taiwan has changed a lot since I was here as a kid. So especially Taipei, it's modernized a lot since the last time I was here. So it was very cool.
All right. And Bannie, how about you? I know that you were here in Taiwan until the age of 8. And coming back this time, how does it, compare with, what you remember growing up in Taiwan?
When I grew up, Taiwan was a very fantastical place for me. Like, I didn't think too much about, politics and anything. It was about food, family, and friends. Okay. And so every time I come back, it's a way for me to prove these things, to see, oh yeah, Taiwan's still great, still got the good food. But this time, I'm entering a different realm of Taiwan, where the workplace. So it was really interesting to see what this area has to offer. And so far, I've been delighted.
Okay, and we're going to talk about your work experiences a little later. Starting with you, Lena, you were here, since 2014. You have been here for about a year. And where have you worked? I understand that you were at one time at different, TV stations. Tell us a little bit about your work experience in Taiwan in the last, 12 months. What have you learned?
Yeah, so I started through TTT. I worked for OCAC, which stationed me at Huashi or CTS.
Okay, CTS. Yes.
And from there, I worked just for the summer. But while we were working there, it was basically independent filmmaking. It felt like. So me and my partner, who was also a TTT intern, we just made films, kind of promoting Taiwan and that kind of thing. But when that drew to a close, my partner went back to England, where she was from. But during the internship, we actually visited PTS. And while I was here, they were telling us about a bilingual opportunity where it is you translate the news for macro view television. And I was interested in the position because I've wanted to also improve my Chinese and things like that. And I came in for a test read, and she said I was qualified for it. So I ended up just working here for a while.
Okay.
Yep.
What was your major back in college?
I majored in journalism.
Okay, so this is right up in your alley.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Right.
So.
How about you, Bannie? Where have you worked this summer in Taiwan? I understand it is the Maximus Information Technologies. And what have you learned? What did you do?
For my internship, I believe it's similar to Lena's. It was about learning and also participating in the process of making film. And at Maximus, we do a lot of the early stages of that process, which is the paperwork stuff. Okay. So it was going from picking a project, creating the proposal, writing the proposal, writing the script. And I was lucky enough to have witnessed...
The whole 9 yards. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. And I was able to see the whole process and get something out of it. And just like Lena's, our end project is to make a video. So I spent the last week going around Taipei and parts of Taiwan to capture footages.
Okay. And you are going back in the middle of August, to finish school. But Lena, last year when you were part of the TTT program, that you decided to stay in Taiwan for another year, until this year at least. What was your motivation? What was the consideration? Why did you decide to stay in Taiwan?
For me, it's because I think right now in America, it's hard for people fresh out of college to really get hands-on experience with things. Right now, there's a lot of unpaid internships for entry-level stuff, but normally they don't really get to do big things, especially in media. They might end up, getting coffee for people or something. That's all you get. But now, because I kind of, just the 3 months I was here, I got to learn a lot about the media industry in Taiwan, and I realized how it's a lot more comfortable to get into it, and people are a lot nicer. And I just felt like now I work in a job where I get to do film editing and actually be unit production managers for film production. And I just think that never would have happened if I had went back to the States, especially in Indiana. So, so I saw the potential of staying in Taiwan. So that's why I decided to just keep at it.
All right. And what was the reaction from your parents when you told them, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to stay here for another year?
Well, my mom lives in Taiwan, actually, so she was very supportive of my decision. Yeah, so
good. All right. And how about you, Ben? Do you have any plans of coming back to Taiwan maybe in the future after school is over?
Definitely. Okay. Through this TTT experience, I felt like Lena, I learned a lot about the media industry and more so how Taiwanese people, Taiwanese companies treat media. And it's quite different to what I've been learning so far in the States. So I don't think it's necessarily easier, but because, this is where I'm from, so I'd definitely like to take a crack at it, yeah.
All right. I understand for the two of you, you have traveled quite a bit around Taiwan, not just in Taipei. Can you tell us, the experience of traveling around Taiwan and visiting different people, different cities? How has that helped you in terms of getting a better understanding of Taiwan today, and not just the people, but also the environment, the culture, the whole works? Bannie?
I traveled more during orientation.
Okay.
But I've done some traveling with family also throughout the last month.
Yeah.
And one thing that I realized, which was really instrumental to both my career and also for myself, is looking at Taiwan from a different perspective. Because when I was younger, Taiwan was just like, oh, I'm a tourist, so I'm here.
It's a fun place.
Yeah, it's really fun. I just had to be here to look at things and appreciate it. But now it's about learning how to show people how to appreciate. And that big difference, I believe, is really, really important for my own growth.
All right. Even though the two of you have had prior experiences living in Taiwan, but you never actually work here, was there a period of cultural shock, knowing that people here may do things differently from what you know back in the States? Did that happen to you, Lena?
Yeah, I think it is a very different work environment. There's a lot of cultural things, like people are a lot more passive, and criticism is a little less confrontational. But in America, I remember when I worked there, it was very, very blunt, a lot more blunt. Right. So that was a big difference. But it's easy to get used to, I think, because everybody is nice and willing to work with you. So.
All right. Bannie, I'm going to ask you the same question. Did you experience cultural shock when you first started working in Taiwan? Because this time is very different from previous trip to Taiwan when you were just a visitor. And this time you were actually working. And did you have to overcome the barriers that maybe culturally, socially, that you didn't know about? And how did you overcome those? Please.
Definitely. I think in terms of the office culture, it's a lot different. I had a job back on campus in the States, and it was a lot more laid back. And having experienced here, I really feel like people here are really hardworking. They stick to the 9 to 6 hour, like always. And so I had to deal with that in terms of making myself sharp at work. At all hours, because I feel like I have to be able to compete with them and to stand out with them, or else I'd just be like a laid-back American at the office. But yeah, I definitely felt like that is something that Americans can learn and should try to strive for.
But would you think some of the co-workers at the workplace would regard the two of you as somebody who just passing through? You guys are going to be with us for a year at most, and maybe in a few months you're going to move on to something better, or even you're going to move back, to Indiana or to North Carolina. Did you get that sense from people here that you're not here for good, Lena?
Yeah, I think because as like a foreigner, or as someone who thinks like a foreigner, I think it is a little harder to like merge completely into the workplace. But it is part of the process, because you want people with different perspectives to come in and kind of even sometimes add a little more to your existing perspective or something like that. So, yeah.
How about you, Bannie?
Yeah, at the beginning it felt a little bit like that. People kind of treated me as the intern from America, but because I have my own strengths and I do bring some benefits, like when they're dealing with documentations that are in English, they would come and ask me for help. So that's when I gain more respect and, like she said, begin to merge a little bit into the office.
Assimilate a little better. Okay, let's get back to the TTT program. And we understand this is a program for overseas Taiwanese youth, and the program itself is how many weeks? Is that
6 weeks?
6 weeks. All right. And for the first week, I believe it is the orientation week, and that is the time when you travel quite a bit around Taiwan. Can you tell the audience that what was your experience like at the orientation week, not only in terms of traveling around Taiwan, but getting to know the people from all different parts of the world? Some of them you never met, some of them you might have conversed on the internet, but basically it's a brand new environment, and you're meeting new counselors, and they're going to help you to survive the next 6 weeks and things. What was the experience like in the orientation? Lena?
Yeah, I think it was really cool because I was surrounded by people just like me, and as someone from Indiana, I was never surrounded by people like me. So that was really cool. And as someone who has been in Taiwan, I know Taiwan a lot better than a lot of the other participants of TTT did, and it was cool to be around them as they witness things for the first time and kind of get their perspective of things. Like some of the places they took us to, I had been before, but it was interesting to get a new experience from the places I had been. Yeah.
What were some of the favorite places that you visited?
I think the most memorable for me was Ryutan.
Ryutan,
yes.
Okay. But you've been there before, right?
I had, yeah, but when I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah, but last year with the group, was it different?
Yeah, it was different. It was a lot more fun when you're not with your parents, of course. Right. So it's always a different kind of experience.
Okay, how about you, Bannie?
I actually had a similar experience because back in North Carolina, there are not that many Asian or Asian Americans. So it was hard to find people who can relate to me. And on the specific island, like of Taiwan, it was basically impossible to find an ABC who's from Taiwan. So traveling around Taiwan, it was fun to relate to each other.
Exactly.
And yeah, it was new. It was definitely new. Yeah.
All right. Since the two of you were working in Taiwan, during the internship, how did you entertain yourself socially? I mean, you probably didn't have a lot of friends. For example, Lena, you stay behind after the TTT program is over. I mean, you probably have some distant relatives or friends around, but not many. And how did you try to adjust socially?
During the program, I stayed in the dorm. So it's the dorm that TTT provided, and that was actually a part of the fun too, because I was also surrounded by fellow ABCs who were also just wanting to explore Taipei. But yeah, I will admit, after the program, everyone left, and there was a brief period when there was like, whoa, I don't know anyone in Taipei, but I'm the only one who stayed behind. But I decided to start doing these, there's some trips you can take in Taipei that some foreigners organize. So I just started doing like outdoor hiking trips, and I got I got to know a lot of locals who are also international. So they're international locals in Taipei. Got to know a lot of people like that, and it was a lot easier than I ever expected to make friends and to feel at home in Taipei.
All right, I suppose by the time, when that happens, that you go back to Indiana, you're going to miss all the friends that you made in Taiwan.
Absolutely.
Yes. How about you, Bannie? I mean, what did you do socially other than nightclubs?
Nightclubs.
Just kidding. Go ahead. Did you exercise, go to movies, or what did you do?
Fortunately, I have friends from high school and also friends from North Carolina who also came back. So I was able to hang out with them, and almost as like a tour guide, I would take them to places like Chenping and Taipei 101.
Good for you.
And show them one of the more popular cultural aspects of Taiwan. Yeah, but I also got to travel to places that I haven't been for a very long time. Like I went to Wulai for Wenquan, and that was a very enjoyable experience. Other than that, I think we try our best to find the most international places in Taiwan and see how Taiwan is like when they approach international stuff. Like I went to a badminton tournament. It's called the Yonex Open, and all the great badminton players that came in. It was great to see that Taiwan can also compete with like internationals.
Did you see German Lin when he came into town?
I was gonna go to the airport to find him, but he didn't show up until 1, so no.
But anyway, and let me ask the two of you, if, I mean, this whole experience with TTT is something that you pretty much expected before you began the program, or is it something even more than what you expected? Because I know this time, coming back to Taiwan, your mindset is a little different because you're going to be here longer, you're going to be working, all right? And this is different from being a visitor for 2 weeks or a month, right? So, this time in the TTT program, did you find, the program offered all the things that you wanted it and more, or is it something just about average? Bannie?
I think TTT has definitely fulfilled some of my expectations in terms of working in Taiwan. And I definitely got a lot of work experience, or at least I got to see a lot of the processes of making film.
Okay.
There were some parts that fell short, but...
For example?
For example, visiting a set like this, a beautiful set. I wasn't able to do that, but I was able to research like different types of lighting, cameras, and everything. So
terrific.
Being able to witness it right now, it's great. It's a great
part
feeling.
Of it. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And Lena?
I wasn't sure what to expect, actually. I kind of just jumped at the chance of like going to Taipei and working in media. So I have a lot of interest in media. I'm interested in film and PR and everything. So I was kind of happy that it kind of focused more on film, and we got to do more film stuff, and which is what I think made my interest kind of narrow into what I do now, which is film. Because originally I was kind of scattered and didn't know what to focus on.
You're keeping your options open.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so.
All right. Let me ask you, during the time that you were in Taiwan, you were working and living here more on a permanent basis, then did you have the chance of interaction with some of the local youth? You know, for example, at the TTT program, maybe you're interacting with other ABCs around the world, but not much with the locals. But once you stay, a little longer, like in your case, Lena, did you find the experience of relating to the local youth pretty much similar to the experience back in the States? What do you think?
Yeah, because I think, especially because I had elementary school here, I would always just kind of bring up old memories, and that was something that we all had in common. And working at Huasu, Huasu had a really renowned director who's local here, and got to see how he did everything.
So you really felt that was very productive.
Yes.
And that was something that you never expected. Right? And how about you, Bannie? If you were to, ask to write a letter to your parents now, what would be some of the things that you want to tell them based on your experience in TTT this year?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Firstly, I tell them I'm safe.
Okay,
I'm safe in Taiwan. But I would definitely point out that it's a lot different. The culture is a lot different than I expected, because just of what I'm doing in Taiwan, it is not what I usually do when I come back. So. And also, they've worked in Taiwan, so they've warned me about like certain things and give me pointers and everything. But I think because times are changing, I've had my own experience, which were different from theirs. So I tell them about my experience.
Very good.
Yeah.
And Lena, let's talk a little bit about what you have learned in Taiwan, in the TTT program, and what are some of the newer experiences that you have experienced over the period of the program. First, regarding the transition to Taiwanese lifestyle. You guys are no stranger to Taiwan, of course, but this time coming back, the mindset, the mentality are different, because you're going to be here, you're going to be working, you're going to be here longer. And given the fact that you're coming in Taiwan to get to know Taiwan with a different angle, and how was the transition to Taiwanese, lifestyle? I don't suppose it's that much different from the lifestyle that you're accustomed to in the States, but there are some differences. Would you mind sharing them with us, Lena?
Yeah, I think it's very different from where I'm from in Indiana. Maybe because I came from like a smaller town compared to Taipei as a city. But the thing is, it was different in a good way. I think I fit in immediately. I think I've always been kind of like a urban lover.
Person, yes.
Yes, I think the city is very convenient, very comfortable to live in. I feel safe all the time. I don't feel any sort of discomfort from going out too late or anything like that. So it's been really easy to get used to. So.
Okay, same for you, Bannie?
Oh yeah, I'm from Raleigh, and so although it's the capital of North Carolina, but it's still pretty much suburban. So definitely convenience is one thing. Transportation is so easy and so cheap. Back in Raleigh, we have to drive all the time or take the bus, and each trip
takes a longer time.
It would, yes, and gas money, that's not cheap in America.
No, exactly.
But yeah, I think other aspects of living in Taipei, such as eating, the eating the cuisine.
Yes.
There's a lot more to choose from because I feel like Taiwan's very diverse in culture. So it was easier to find food that I like rather than food that I wouldn't eat.
Okay.
So I like that part too.
All right, and Bannie brought up exactly what I was going to ask you, the two of you next. What was your favorite food? And what is something that you remember the most, after the trip is over in terms of food, cuisine? Bannie?
It's funny because orientation, my favorite attraction is actually food.
Okay.
Yes, everywhere we go, like my group, or at least I would just look at every single food and be like, hey, I know that one. I know that one. I've never tried that one, so I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And it's really broadened my horizon of like all the different types of food and cuisine that's in Taiwan.
Okay.
But personally, I really like noodles. I have eaten a different type of noodle every day for lunch at work.
Good.
Yeah,
right.
I want to try everything.
All right. And how about you, Lena?
I think during the program, me and my dorm mates would go out every night for dinner. Yeah, for dinner. We would go to, I think we went to every night market in Taipei, that was reachable, in reachable distance. And I think our favorite one was guabao from Gongguan.
Yes.
It's like, and just I think everything we tried was good, and it was something we hadn't tried before back in the States. So that's really hard to pick a favorite, but guabao was just one of the most memorable ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was it easy to get Taiwanese food from where you are in the States? Not easy.
No.
Okay. How about your parents? Do they cook at home some of the traditional, Taiwanese or Chinese cuisine?
Not really either, because in the States the ingredients are also really hard to find. So,
yes, that's true.
Yeah. But my mom, she's actually a really good cook, so there was a longing to go home because she would always make ru fan when I go back. So
all right.
Yeah.
And given the fact that you have been here longer, and you have work experience now under your belt, do you think that you understand Taiwan better, not just as a place for a visit, but also as a place that you can at least spiritually identify as home? Okay. Bannie, do you think so?
Definitely, yes, because I feel like since I've dealt into a different area in terms of like working, I understand Taiwan a lot better than I did before. I understand the challenges better too, because that's one area where I've never really explored because Taiwan was just so great. So it's a lot easier to make a judgment for people too, and to tell overseas Chinese people what Taiwan is like and what are the great places and what are the not so great places and the working culture and everything. Yeah. So I'm really appreciative of this opportunity to work here.
Okay. Lena?
And same with me. I can see myself living here in the long term. And I think just being in Taipei for the year, it's already felt more like home than Indiana ever did.
Okay, good.
Because there are just a lot more people like me here, international or like third culture people. So yeah, it's been very easy to adapt to.
Okay, and given the fact that you have been here longer on this trip, and what has been unique or something new for the two of you on this trip? For example, working, of course, is something new. You never done it until this trip. How about other things? What were some of the new and unique experiences that you have, from this trip? Lena?
The new experiences is exploring the north part of Taiwan in general, because when I was in Taiwan, I mostly was in the south. Okay. So, and we explored the natural side of the northern coast a lot, and amazing hiking trails that I had no idea Taiwan even had. So, a lot of stuff like that. So.
All right. And Bannie, you've been to places that you've never been to before?
Yes, definitely on this trip. Other than the places that I've been, I think the places that I haven't been is new. So I sort of had to treat myself as a tourist to begin with, because then I know what to appreciate, and then I can tell people how great it is.
Okay. If you were to ask yourselves to explain Taiwan, to present Taiwan to your friends back home, to relatives back home, what would you say is so special about Taiwan? For example, I'll give you a clue. you know, we have mainland tourists coming from China now, and some of them will say the most beautiful scenery in Taiwan is the people, all right, and you know, hospitality and the warmth that people have demonstrated. You know, and if I would ask you the same thing, what is so special about Taiwan?
It's a tiny island, but it has everything. Okay. I think I've once written an article, I named it, it's a small island, but with really big dreams and really big, exactly. You can have everything you need in this tiny space. And I think it's very true. And it's not just the food, you can just go anywhere you want to, and it's a lot more affordable than a lot of other countries in the world. Yeah. So I think it's just,
overall, it's very pleasant. How about you, Bannie?
I think I agree with what Lena said. Taiwan is so small, but there's so many people, and there's so many people coming in too. I feel like there's not enough because Taiwan is so diverse, and like I think, having lived in America, I really think people should open their minds about other parts of the world, especially to Taiwan, because we're always so inviting of other cultures, in terms of food and you know, culture, technology, everything. So that's one of the unique things I would say about Taiwan is the openness and the diversity of everything. And if I were to recommend Taiwan to my friends, I wouldn't just say food, I wouldn't just say attraction, and since you said people's out, right, I would say it's to explore everything. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's appropriate, you know, way to, you know, describe Taiwan, but a friend of mine, you know, who's an international investment banker, you know, once told me that, you know, when you visit other places, they may present you with fancy brochures, with detailed maps and, you know, all the places, interesting food to eat. In Taiwan, before you visit, you probably don't get that. You know, there isn't a whole lot of, you know, fancy materials or detailed information available to you. But once you get to Taiwan, that you can travel, you can visit the different towns, different cities, and meet the people around the island, then you found Taiwan is sort of like a, you know, very thick and very deep book that you really need to dig in and explore it. You know, it may not present, you know, the fancy brochures that you're accustomed to, but it certainly gives you a very rewarding experience. Would the two of you agree with such a description? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Looking at all the pictures of Taiwan, you really can't pick one to symbolize Taiwan. That one would just, like you said, be a page of that book. Yes. And that's the amazing part about Taiwan is that you can keep flipping the page and keep exploring stuff. Yeah. And there's really no end to it yet.
Okay. And Lena, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And it is more about the journey than the destination, right? Okay. So I think and the best part of Taiwan is it's so easy to go places, and the going itself is the experience. Like just taking the Taiwan Rail is such a relaxing experience. It's so serene, and it adds to when you get to the location. It's like I didn't just get here; I also had an amazing trip there. So I think it's part of it.
Okay, and what has been the reaction from the friends and the, you know, maybe some of the relatives who they haven't seen for a long time, and on this trip, that when they learn that you're going to be here longer, you're going to be working, interning at different places, what was their reaction to you? Do they notice maybe, you know, Lena, haven't seen you in a few years, and this time you being in Taiwan for a few months, and now a year, that, you know, maybe as a relative, as a friend, I noticed there are some changes in you. Has that happened to the two of you? Okay.
Yes, it has. And I originally actually had a return flight after TTT that I just decided not to take because I thought the job opportunity was really good.
Very appealing.
Yeah, for my career. So, and my family in the States, they do miss me, and they're like, that was such an abrupt decision. Why did you do that? But they understand that career-wise, this was a really good choice for me. So,
Bannie,
their original reaction was, "You got a job?" Because every single time I come back, I would be relaxing and resting in Taiwan. So they were really curious. Did you get paid? What do you have to do? And it was interesting just to tell them that, hey, I am achieving something in Taiwan too, and they're proud of me.
Yeah, so this is also a coming of age trip a little bit for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask the two of you, part of the reason maybe for your parents to send you back to the TTT program, last year and this year, is the fact that they want you to learn more about the Taiwan culture, the Taiwan people, and also improve on your Chinese abilities. Maybe the two of you are pretty proficient before coming back, but do you think this trip has really helped you in terms of, speaking more comfortably with people in Chinese, Mandarin Chinese? Benny?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Because since I've taken lessons in high school, I always felt like, if I don't come back to Taiwan, what am I going to do with Chinese? Like, I'm only going to communicate with my parents.
Okay.
But after I came back, I realized, wait, I could improve on Chinese because what I've learned in college are all in English. So I had to think about how to translate stuff to talk to my coworkers, to talk to my boss in Chinese. So it was a process. I had to look on Google Translate a couple times, but it was a process, and I think I've definitely improved on my translation skills.
Okay, and also I would suppose some of the usage is a little different from what you learned back in college. The same experience for you, Lena?
Yeah, absolutely. During TTT, we worked a lot with people who worked at Huasi, which are all locals. They couldn't speak much English, so I kind of became the translator for my partner who couldn't speak much Chinese at all, actually. And then working for Gongsi afterwards. Now I do direct translation from Chinese to English, and I've learned so much about the Chinese language through this job. So it's a job, but I'm learning so much that I think will benefit me in the long run. So.
Okay. And language, of course, is just a tool. In order for you to communicate effectively with people anywhere, is for you to understand the way they think, understand how the culture, works, what are some of the values that people appreciate. And given the fact that you've been here longer on this trip, do you think that you now possess the experience and the confidence of communicating more directly and more efficiently with the people of Taiwan? Not just people your age, but people of all different ages, and also people, coming from different walks of life. Lena?
Yeah, through my job and through just interacting with local people in general, I've learned so much culturally that I find I can relate to. So it is, now I can speak more than just Taiwanese, or Chinese. I can speak their language. Like we have more things in common, and it's easier to connect to. So.
Okay. Benny?
Yeah, definitely. I've built a strong cultural interest now, and I can speak a little bit of Taiwanese, but throughout this internship, I feel like I know more of the conversational ways to say things. And it's important because when you're on the streets and when you're buying something, they say something like that, you can respond to it and you can understand. So that was important for me.
All right. And given the fact that you have, the opportunity of making some new friends, people, roughly of same age as you are, what would be some of the things that you will converse with local youth, during the time in Taiwan? Do you talk about, for example, music, movies, some of the more popular culture? What would be some of the items that will come up in your conversations? Lena?
Yeah, I think Taiwanese youth are very interested in the outside world. They're very humble. Unlike a lot of countries, they actually really are very interested in the rest of the world and they want to go. So a lot of the conversation is about what it's like, where I'm from, or the cultural differences and things like that. So, but on the same side, I want to know what it's like to live here. So it's like literally a cultural exchange.
Yeah, two-way traffic.
Yeah, it really is. So.
Okay. Benny?
Yeah, I've had a similar experience. They're very much interested in what my life was like in the States. And I like to think of myself as a Taiwanese, but in that situation, I really had to speak for someone who's lived in North Carolina. So, yeah.
But, after being in Taiwan for a while, do you miss some of the things that you normally could have back in the States? For example, some of the more, contemporary, information, some of the, Facebook, exchanges, information that you may have available, back home, and some of the exchanges that you have with people back home, maybe through internet. Do you miss some of the things? Because, we of course have the McDonald's and the Burger Kings in Taiwan, but what would be some of the things that you miss from back home?
Well, I think everything, food-wise, if that's what you're going for, is I can find everything I need in Taiwan. Like, it's really has not been a problem. It was more of a problem for me to find Taiwanese food in Indiana than the other way around.
Of course.
And in general, I miss America only in the weather, because it is really hot here.
Yeah, but in the wintertime back home in Indiana, it could be very chilly.
Yeah, that is true. And Taipei has been nice in that during the winter it's really nice. But one thing that I still have to get used to is there is a lot of people and the density is very high. So there's always people, there's always lines for everywhere you go. But that's something you just have to be patient and get used to.
Get, accustomed to it. How about you, Bannie?
I don't really miss the food in America. Yeah, my mother tongue literally is here, so everything I taste here tastes great, tastes like it's supposed to. In terms of American culture, I don't keep up that much with any pop or entertainment, but I do keep up with sports, and sometimes on YouTube, these videos would be blocked. So, but it's still nice to turn on the TV and see like Major League Baseball playing, and I would watch that occasionally, which is also another shared interest between Taiwanese people and
people in America. Yes, and I'm sure there are many young Taiwanese youth who may be watching our program today, and they're gonna turn around to their parents and say that, hey, mom and dad, Lena and Bannie are having such a wonderful time in Taiwan. Maybe I will go next year to the TTT program. Sounds like a lot of fun. You get to meet new people, get to understand Taiwan better, get to know the local culture, the local food, the local lifestyle. And what would you then say to these young people, young Taiwanese youth, about coming to the TTT program and possibly working in Taiwan? How would they better prepare themselves for the journey ahead? Lena?
Yeah, I would highly recommend the program because especially if you're still a student, the kind of experience you can get from this summer is something that I think helps in the long run, because it's better than just any internship, the average internship you can get from like your hometown or something, because not only are you working, you're working in a completely different city. And I think people in general should do more of these things to challenge themselves and to get used to a new environment. But also I want to advise to give yourself time to get used to a new environment. I think a lot of people were kind of dumbfounded by how different Taiwan is to America, but it's the same no matter where you go, whatever country you go to work, you need to give yourself time to get adjusted. So
good. Bannie?
Yeah, definitely come to Taiwan. You need to, especially if you have ties to Taiwan. Like if you
still have relatives.
It's an invaluable experience. It's like she said, it's not just an internship. You're learning about the culture, you're learning about Taiwan, and this is one part of Taiwan that I really think that needs to be improved. It's to advertise itself, and with people who are watching this, they need to know that this is a great destination to be in, great place to work, great place to live.
All right, and we understand that the parents of both of you have made the decision to let you come back and participate in the TTT program. And Lena, of course, you stay behind for another year. And Bannie, you're going to be going back home to finish college. And we have some time available in the program to say something to your parents. What would you say to them if I were to give you, the two of you, 1 minute each to say something to your parents? Starting with you, Lena. Okay. Please look at the camera like you're talking to your parents directly.
Well, I think my mom already knows this, but I'm doing great in Taipei. I'm learning so much from a job that I really love, and the people that I'm surrounded by are all really great people that I'm learning a lot from. So it has been just a really great experience here. I can't say anything else for that.
And Bannie, your parents are both, back home in North Carolina.
They're actually here too. They came back too.
Oh, came back with you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And they could, still be watching our program. All right. So, what would you want to say to them?
I want to thank Mom and Dad. Actually, I should dress it like how I would dress them. 谢谢爸爸妈妈 for bringing me back to Taiwan. One of the main reasons why I came back is to renew my passport because I have national service coming up after college.
Yes.
So it was a wonderful coincidence to be able to do this internship as well, and I've learned so much. Yeah, don't worry about me for not learning anything, because I actually have, and this experience to be on Macro TV, it's wonderful. I know you don't know about it, but you will.
Okay. It's wonderful to have the two of you on the program. And you certainly are very young at this stage. You're about to begin your career for you, Lena, and also for Bannie to try to finish college. Maybe in the future, we'll like to see the two of you spending more time in Taiwan, working, living, and maybe starting your own families here. And it's certainly been a pleasure to have you on the program today. Want to wish the both of you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for watching our program today. I'll see you next time on MacroView Television. Thank you.